So the first thing you want to do is go ahead and remove this grill. So the normal grill has some goofy looking clips. They're kind of like offset squares by 45 degrees, and it's got a little flat blade screwdriver, so you have to rotate it 45 degrees and pop it out. The best thing to do, honestly, use zip ties. So I've got zip ties holding mine together. Makes it easy to come out. So I'm just going to go ahead and snip those and go ahead and remove this grill. Alright, so now I got the grill out of the way. You can see there is the condenser coil that sits in front of the radiator. The radiator is behind it. And so I've already got myself the plastic cooling fan from the junkyard. Looks like there's 4 bolts and nuts combination of hardware that hold it in. It's pretty easy to remove. And make sure that you take the pigtail wire harness and connector. It's got 2 black wires and a green wire. So the green wire is going to be the 12 volt positive. Both black wires need to go to ground, and that's how you're going to wire it in. Now the original version had a pressure switch and some other wiring on it. I didn't keep that. I'm going to wire it so it's always on whenever the air conditioning is turned on. So the first thing that I'm going to do is put a length of wire on this green wire for the positive. So I'm just going to use an inline butt connector like this, and I stripped off some end of the green wire, and I'm just going to slide that on there and go ahead and crimp it on. And then crimp it down, make sure you don't cut through the plastic. Alright, so I got some heat shrink tubing on there. You can use a heat gun if you want, or I go for the propane torch. It's a little faster and a lot hotter. So we've got 2 black wires that we want to twist the ends together once you strip the insulation off. I'm going to twist it into one larger strand of wire, and I'm just going to merge those together because they're both going to the same ground source. Now slide it into the end of that butt connector, crimp it down nice and tight. Alright, so I just taped up those connectors that I crimped on earlier, and I'm just going to go ahead and put this flex tube on and run it behind the headlight here and put it in the engine bay because that's where the relay is going to be. Alright, so I'm going to wire it in with a relay here. And so a relay, you know, it looks like a cube. It's got four prongs on the bottom. It's got a little wiring diagram on the relay so you can look at how to wire it in. But I'm going to put a better one on the screen for you. The best way to think of a relay is it's an electrical switch. So when you think of a normal switch, like a light switch or a switch that's on your dash somewhere, that's really a mechanical switch. You're using a mechanical lever and mechanical action to make the electrical connection. The relay allows you to use a low power electrical signal to make a switching action. So you have 2 sides of the relay. You have a coil side and then you have the switch side. So the coil is just an electromagnetic coil, and when it has 12 volts in and then a ground on the other side, that's going to energize that coil, and it's going to either snap the relay closed or snap the relay open depending on how that relay is configured. So the other side of the relay is where your switching action takes place, and that's where you're going to send power through to get to your high power accessory, so this fan. So this fan looks to be pulling about 6 to 10 amps depending on how it's running. And so I don't want to send the positive signal directly from the clutch on the AC compressor, because that wiring might be too thin. There might be a fuse on that that's only 10 amps, and then I'll end up blowing it anytime that fan comes on. So I don't want that to happen. So that's how you can isolate the power consumption of this fan from the circuit that you want to trigger the fan to turn on. Apply heat with your favorite source of heat. I use the torch. Just faster this way. So that is the pin, or the terminal, that I want to slide it on.
Where are my hands?
So I've got each wire in one of the paths on this connector. I'm just going to take some pliers and crimp that blade down nice and tight. That'll make a good connection. Down all the way. And that's how I'm going to get my 12 volts anytime the compressor is kicked on. So now all that's left is to wire that into the last terminal on the relay, and I should be good to go. So the only thing that's left to do is to clean up the wiring. So I'm going to run this in its own split loom and just kind of zip tie it to the stock wire harness and run it over to the battery and to where it goes onto the relay. You can see the relay has a tab with a hole in it, so you can find a screw to mount it to, or you can find a hole and just zip tie it up out of the way. So once you clean up the wiring, you're done. You have your fan installed now. You have it so that it turns on anytime the air conditioning compressor clutch is engaged. And that's going to give you that extra airflow to help keep that air conditioning condenser coil cool. And it's also going to help keep your radiator cooler whenever you're driving on the beach with that air conditioning on, or when you get into the hot summer days.